Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem Rakak Radash, and double honors to the head apostles of the great millstone that taught me this truth, and as well as Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Brakatham to the overall elect all around the planet Earth, which is furthering this ministry, and including the 1/3 that do follow. All right, and it's your brother once again, Laban, coming at you with another video, which is to do with prophecy, which is in the book of Revelations, the 17th chapter, and I believe is verse 16, where it reads that the 10 horns are referring to the original 10 European nations that got together and formulated an alliance together, which is the EU. And they all came together around 1958, which also prior before that time you had which was called that was the same year, which is what they coined also the Treaty of Rome, which started with 6 nations, and then in the later years 2 other nations got involved in that. All right, so this is where we are at right now. But as it stands, NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, as this article puts it, that Trump wants to separate from the EU, which is basically the breaking up of the alliance that they've had before, going back to the Soviet Union, because they wanted to come back to power of the Soviet Union, and that was the reason for the alliance. All right, but now, as we are, man, excitingly, we're living in the time of the Lord speaking, and this is just the beginning of the end of Babylon the Great. So now let's get into it. The biggest internal threat. Trump threatens to pull U.S. out of NATO again. Donald Trump has indicated that if elected president in 2024, he will consider pulling out of the U.S. out of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. If the group does not acquiesce to his demands, the former president has previously attacked NATO allies and discussed withdrawing from the transatlantic organization altogether, a move which ostensibly came about as a result of his reported relationship with Russia President Vladimir Putin. Rolling Stone reported that Trump has already said he does not want any hypothetical second administration to be full of NATO lovers. Per 2 sources, he have heard him make such remarks. The sources also shared that the ex-president has suggested that he is open to the idea of yanking the U.S. from NATO, although he is willing to reconsider if the group meets various demands of his, including his wants for non-American members to increase their defense spending, and a fundamental scrutinizing of the bedrock principle that an attack on one member is equivalently an attack on all. Rolling Stone also reported that Trump, while in office, repeatedly derided Article 5, NATO's collective defense clause, arguing against starting World War III in the names of a smaller NATO country sovereignty. Donald Trump threats to weaken NATO and sides with Vladimir Putin that undermines America's strength on the global stage and threatens our national security. As president, Donald Trump spent 4 years cozying up to dictators, making our country less safe, said Biden campaign spokesman Amnar Musa, right? And, that's not going to really strengthen America, to be exact, because the relationship that Russia has with America is no longer what it used to be 15 years ago. If I'm correct, it's got to be 17 years ago now. Ever since then, Russia and America's been cool, but we're in different times now where the relationship is very solid between the two. And so what's going to happen is as I've already quoted the precept, and I'll read the precept once again by showing you why the idea is in mind of Trump himself, why he wants to associate from the EU. Because this is getting ready to happen. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast. What is the beast? The beast is referring to the ancient Roman Empire. And these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So these are the current names which are of the 10 heads. The 10 European nations, which you have Belgium, and then you have Denmark, and then I believe you have France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and Greece, Spain, and England, and West Germany. So these are all of the 10 that have aligned themselves with America, going back to what is it, 1949 to be exact, to combat the power of the Soviet Union at the time. Okay, which I believe that was during the time of this individual by the name of Joseph Stalin, which he was about to be out of power sooner or later. From them times, I believe he came out of power from maybe the year of 53, but I'll just say the 50s because I'm not really sure. Okay, so this is what's being set up and prepared to happen on the world stage, is that these nations that have aligned themselves with America will begin to separate from America. And like I said, this is just the beginning, because Trump has declared what he's going to do. And just like I've already kind of done a story on this, of the matter as to why Trump doesn't really take much of a liking with the EU nations, because this individual, the head of NATO, Stuttenberg, I forgot his first name, but Stuttenberg was saying whatever he was saying, and Trump was basically responding in anger. With some kind, that's the word. He was responding back at him with animosity, because what was going on with the European countries. And Trump basically said what he had to say on his behalf about how they want America to back them much more effectively, but they're not obviously, doing their part, so to speak. In the way that he put it, as I could quite remember, which was 4 years ago at the time, when they were sitting at the table together, discussing the issues on both sides. So that's the reason why Donald Trump feels like, man, I don't really want to be around y'all, man. But it's on both sides, which is, the feelings are the same. Like, NATO don't even want to be around, or I would say a very few amount of members don't want to be around or to be under America anymore. You have France, Emmanuel Macron have already stated how he feels about being an underling to America, and getting into these various wars that America puts us in, and he's even made statements such as I can quite recall, that the EU should get together and formulate their own military. So you got a few heads within the EU that have already kind of declared how they feel and think being under America. Okay, and there's probably other prime ministers as well within the EU that probably feel the same way, but they're not going to come out and obviously be as vocal as Emmanuel Macron. But overall, with saying all of that, just to keep it short, this society is definitely coming down, because you have the EU, or let me just say this differently, NATO. So like your NATO, what you're seeing is you're seeing the breakup of these two entities, America and as well as its counterparts, which is the EU. As Yahushua said to the disciples, not the disciples, the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he said, how can Satan cast out Satan? If Satan be divided against itself, then how can he stand? If a house be divided against itself, how can it stand? A kingdom, he mentioned. So that's the kind of place and time that we're in. We're in a time and a place where we're seeing this society being destroyed from within. Because these two allies, the EU and America, they were the powerhouse of the Western Hemisphere. They were the powerhouse of the world. Okay, but now the power is being deducted because of this division. NATO has issues all together in conjunction. Donald Trump has an issue with the rest of its counterparts, and you have a very few prime ministers on the other part that don't really see the benefit of being under America anymore. Okay, so this is just a part which shows that we're in a time of witnessing prophecy in regards to the breaking down of this system. Now, I also want to read this as well. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 20. And we'll begin by reading verse 19. And then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which the fourth beast is Rome, which was diverse from all of the others. And what made the ancient Roman Empire more diverse from the other beasts? Because the other beasts, which is referring to the other kingdoms that were, they ruled by lineage, and as well as they would wear, the royal colors. Like, for example, your purple. To be exact, they would wear purple, which was to signify that they were in that position of power. But see, what the ancient Romans did is, when you can go into this in the book of Maccabees, right? I believe it's in First Maccabees, the 8th chapter. I'm not really sure. Matter of fact, let me see if I can read it. Let me see if I can read it. Let me see if I can find that scripture that I'm talking about.